गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भवानी शंकरौ वन्दे श्रद्धा विश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धा स्वान्तस्थमीश्वरम्। शिव शिव शंकरं हर अभयंकरं शिव शिव शंकरं हर अभयंकरं। अस्ति भाति प्रियरूपम् अस्ति भाति प्रियरूपम् शिव शिव शंकरं शिव शिव शंकरं। नित्यविज्ञानमयं नित्यविज्ञानमयं शिव शिव शंकरं शिव शिव शंकरं। आनंदमजम् अव्ययम् आनंदमजम् अव्ययम् शिव शिव शंकरं शिव शिव शंकरं। वंदे पुरुषोत्तमम् वंदे पुरुषोत्तमम् शिव शिव शंकरं शिव शिव शंकरं। नमो आदि सद्गुरुं नमो आदि सद्गुरुं शिव शिव शंकरं शिव शिव शङ्करम् आत्मरूप प्रकाशम् आत्मरूप प्रकाशम् शिव शिव शङ्करम् शिव शिव शङ्करम् नमो आदिसद्गुरुम् नमो आदिसद्गुरुम् शिव शिव शङ्करम् आत्मरूप प्रकाशम् आत्मरूप प्रकाशम् शिव शिव शङ्करम् शिव शिव शङ्करम् शिव शिव शङ्करम् शिव शिव शङ्करम् हर अभयङ्करम् हर अभयङ्करम् शिव शिव शङ्करम् शिव शिव शङ्करम् हर अभयङ्करम् हर अभयङ्करम् अस्ति भाति प्रियरूपम् अस्ति भाति प्रियरूपम् शिव शिव शङ्करम् शिव शिव शङ्करम् यस्मिन् ज्ञाने भवेत् सर्वम् विज्ञातं परमात्मनि तं वन्दे नित्यविज्ञानम् आनन्दमजमव्ययम् आनन्दमजमव्ययम् यदज्ञानादभूद्वैतम् ज्ञाते यस्मिन्निवर्तते रज्जुसर्पवदत्यन्तम् तं वन्दे पुरुषोत्तमम् तं वन्दे पुरुषोत्तमम् यस्योपदेशदीधित्या चिदात्मानः प्रकाशते नमः सद्गुरवे तस्मै स्वाविद्याध्वान्तभानवे स्वाविद्याध्वान्तभानवे हरि ओम। Existence as existence is total and complete. There is nothing that is incomplete in the existence as existence. Everything that is there in this creation is a modification of existence. That is a different thing. There might be disparities, there might be differences, there might be high and low, good and bad, right and wrong. In the modifications of existence, we see like that, we perceive like that. But existence as existence is total and complete. From that level, all the needs one has are already fulfilled. At the level of existence, all the needs that one has are already fulfilled. With this understanding, it becomes clear at the level of existence, there is nothing to gain and nothing to lose. No gain, no loss. But this is not the same at the level of the modifications of the existence. Because we always pursue either gain or loss. We see. Our perception tells us that this is gain, that is loss. Which is our experience according to our limited personality or individuality. But at the level of existence, everything is of equal value. There is no difference as far as the value is concerned. But at the level of the modifications of existence, at the worldly level, the values are different. Everything has a specific value and each value is different from the other. Depending upon that value, we either revere that particular thing or do not bother about that particular thing. Because based on the value, we relate with things. We value and then relate. Our relationship is connected with values. The worth of it as a value. I am not talking about ethical values and moral values. The worth of a thing in the world as a value. That is the value there. But at the level of existence, everything is of equal value. A very gross example which we can try to think in relation to this is, it is like going to movies and in the action that is connected with going to movies, all movies are of equal value. The pleasure that is derived there is derived out of the thought of going to the movie, irrespective of what the movie is. Whatever movie one sees, the pleasure is already derived with the thought of going to the movie, so all are of equal value. When the preference is withdrawn from the world, then everything becomes of equal value. Only when I have a preference, then what I prefer gains more value than the others. What I want to have, what I choose to have gains more value because I prefer it. My preference enhances the value. I superimpose more value upon that because I prefer, because I have chosen it, because I want it, because it is mine. because I have selected it. If that preference is withdrawn, if there is no preference, then everything is of equal value. If we look at it from another angle, there is one common value in the world. That common value is everything is of form. Everything has a form. Everything, whatever it might be, everything has a form. That is one common value there. Everything that exists has form. But this we see extrinsically. When we see the world outwardly, everything is different from the other. Even though there is a common value that everything has a form, but each form is different from the other. And each name is different from the other. So everything is different. But if we look at the existence in each and everything that exists, then everything is of equal value because of its intrinsic value. The intrinsic value of everything is the pure form of existence. In everything that exists, if you go deep into it, there is this intrinsic value that is the pure form of existence. From that understanding, from that standpoint, a weed which has no worth according to our thinking and understanding, weeds, a weed, and sometimes in nice water sources there are these weeds which cover the whole lake and then spoil not only the beauty of it but also the utility of it. Weeds, there are weeds, and then we pull out the weeds because from our understanding they harm the plants, they spoil the beauty, and sometimes in some places weeds are more beautiful than actual plants. They look more colorful, but weeds are weeds. But from this understanding, looking at the intrinsic value of everything, the weed is equal to the diamond. The weed is equal to the diamond. The weed is same as that of diamond. Now can you go to a diamond shop and then tell the fellow, "Oh Ajnani, you don't know the intrinsic value, you are only superficially seeing the value. Extrinsically it might be different, but intrinsically a weed is equal to diamond. So I will give you weeds, you give me diamond." Is that transaction possible? It is not possible. But this is truth. Intrinsically the weed has the same value as that of diamond. There is no difference. The one who has this vision of seeing the intrinsic worth of everything considers everything as equal, because everything is equal. There cannot be any disparity. There can't exist likes and dislikes. There can't exist favoritism and opposition. We cannot say something is of high level and other thing is of low level as per the value. Because otherwise in this world, everywhere this disparity is there. We bring disparity and then only we function. And our ego, when it gets added into it, it makes big mess out of these disparities. I am greater than thou, I am holier than thou, I am sacred than thou, I am purer than thou, I am famous than thou, I am popular than thou. Like that everything, this is great, that is not great. That is less, this is more. That is how the world is, that is how you and I function in this world. But the way in which a Mahatma functions is totally different. His understanding is totally different. Because he sees only the intrinsic worth of everything. A weed and a diamond may differ in appearance, but intrinsically it is same. Little more than that. What is said here is, whatever might be the thing, a weed and a diamond, same example, both are equally beautiful. Hello, बस करो, both हो गया. Both have equal value, सुन लिए. Both are beautiful equally. That is what is the truth. Where is this beauty? The real beauty is intrinsic. That is why God is also called as Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. The aspect of beauty, Sundaram, is inside, intrinsically. The real beauty is inside. The outer beauty, it fades away, we know. As we continue to see it, immediately it fades away. Very soon it fades away. Various ways it goes away. So, not only that the weed and diamond are of equal value, but they are also of equal beauty. That is why the one who discovers this intrinsic beauty in this existence always enjoys the beauty in everything. One who sees the intrinsic beauty is with God. One who sees the intrinsic value is always seeing God. When we are with God, when we are seeing God, naturally we will be always in Jnanam. Yesterday we have seen the explanation of the first sloka of invocation of Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji when he started writing the Bhashyam. Tam vande nitya vijnanam anandam ajamavyayam. Offering salutations to that Paramatma who is nitya vijnanam. Tam vande nitya vijnanam. Always in the level of that highest knowledge. Nitya vijnanam. Ever knowledgeable. So one who sees the intrinsic value is ever knowledgeable. Not only that, Anandam Ajamavyayam. Such a person is always in bliss, always happy. Because only sees the intrinsic value of things. Ajam also means unborn. Yesterday we have seen that meaning. Ajam also means ever existent. Such a person exists forever. We all want to exist forever. Never we want to get out of this existence unless until there are some troubles and then miseries. Only then we think to avoid the misery, we don't find the way, we think we have to exit. But when the time comes to exit, nobody seeks our permission, that is a different story. But any exit, in order to avoid misery, misery will never exit. Because that will continue. In one form or the other, we continue to exist, that also will continue. Only when we come into contact with this intrinsic value, that is seeing the existence as existence, then we will go beyond the misery and remain in happiness or in blissfulness. Anandam ajamavyayam. We exist forever. Avyayam, yesterday we saw the meaning imperishable. There is another meaning to it, changeless. we remain changeless. Once we come to experience that Nitya Vijnanam and Anandam, it will never change thereafterwards. Otherwise, the knowledge that we gain changes in the passage of time. Our value system changes. Our estimates of the world changes. Because the knowledge changes. And the knowledge changes, our happiness levels also change. Same object, same place, similar situation. Earlier I was happy and now I am not happy. Because the levels of happiness change. But here, nothing will change. So, Adi Shankaracharya is offering salutations to that Paramatma who is ever knowledgeable, who is ever happy, who is ever existing, who is changeless. And Adi Shankaracharya said, Yasmin jnane bhavet sarvam vijnatam paramatmani. By knowing whom, the entire world of scene becomes known. Yesterday we saw some examples from Chandogya Upanishad, and then finally we concluded that everything in this creation is a modification of existence. So the one who knows existence knows everything in the world of scene. By knowing whom, everything else becomes known. Coming back to the statement of intrinsic value of things, once we recognize the intrinsic value, everything in this existence becomes of equal value. Then afterwards, once a person gains this vision, the person sees that everything in this world is already its own identity. There is no question of any process of becoming. That individual does not see that anything has to become anything. There is no process of becoming. There is only the state of being. At the level of existence, there is only being. That beingness is seen. No becomingness is necessary. That is not at all perceived. But otherwise, at the worldly level, we are always engaged in becoming. Always we want to become this, become that. Everybody tells us the same thing. You need to become this, you need to become that. You are still the same, you have to become this, become that. Gain this, gain that, achieve this, achieve that. Always everybody feeds us the same thing. Because they perceive like that. Starting from parents onwards. So everybody is fed. As you are not okay. Only when you become something, you are okay. And finally become a Bevakoof. After all becoming, still there is no contentment, there is no satisfaction. So, being is very important. So, looking at the intrinsic value, we see the being. Then we remain with that beingness. There is no becoming. Everything that is already complete. Is already full. That is what the first statement what we saw. Existence as existence is total and complete. Nothing more to become. It's already complete. Existence is never incomplete. If we know this intrinsic value of existence, we will be at ease. If we don't know this, we exist in tense. We exist tense. Then existence is existing in tension. One teacher in English literature class asked the students, very young students, primary section or so. The teacher said, I will make the statement. Now you have to tell what tense it is. Past tense, present tense, future tense. So the teacher said, India will become corruption free. India will become corruption free. Tell what tense is this? One student got up and said, future impossible tense. Student understands better. Future tense he said, but impossible tense he added something. Because it depends upon whether possible, impossible, what is there? Only when the one who governs sees the intrinsic value of things, then that governance will be corruption free. As long as one sees extrinsic value, grabbing, hoarding, accumulating, seizing, only this will be there. Anyway, value system is not there, forget about that. But only extrinsic value is seen, that is why it is there. Corruption remains and thrives. So one needs to see the intrinsic value of thing. That's what is the attempt here. Adi Shankaracharya ji sees that, Hastamalakacharya ji sees that. So after seeing the first sloka of invocation, the sloka of invocation is itself a spiritual path, a practice, and that is capable enough to take us to that state of Nitya Vijnanam and Anandam Ajam Avyayam. Then a second sloka of invocation. Yadajnanadabhodvaitam Jnate yasmin nivartate Rajju sarpavadhatyantam Tam vande purushottamam Tam vande purushottamam. Just as the ignorance of the true nature of rope, when that rope is not properly seen, because the light is not properly there, and the individual also has not paid proper attention, just as the ignorance of the true nature of rope makes the illusory snake and the related fear and shivering appear, because in place of rope the individual sees the snake and naturally the fear is there, shivering is there. Snake anyway is there. Along with it fear also, shivering also appear. How long it will remain? So long the individual does not know the true nature of the rope, it remains. So, when the knowledge of the true nature of rope is gained, that makes the illusory, meaningless snake, fear and shivering disappear. The snake, fear and shivering is illusory and meaningless. But that we believe to be real and true and get affected by it. Why? Because the real nature, the knowledge of the real nature of the rope is not known. Similarly, Adi Shankaracharya says, the ignorance of the true nature of the Supreme Self makes the false, unreal, illusory world of duality. Makes the false, unreal and illusory world of duality disappear along with its birth, death and harmful world of change. Useless, worthless, meaningless world of change. The harmful world of change or useless, worthless, meaningless world of change along with the birth and death will disappear. As of now, we are bound by the birth and death in between the world of change. And we are affected by it, we are influenced by it, we are under the impact of it. We suffer because of it. We sometimes have sorrow, sometimes have exaltation, elation, and sometimes depression. So the birth and death and the world of change, which is illusory and meaningless and worthless, that will disappear. Because the knowledge of the true nature of the Supreme Self makes the world of duality disappear. By knowing that knowledge of the true nature of Supreme Reality, the world of duality will disappear. To such a Supreme Reality, to such a Supreme Self, to such a Supreme Purusha, Adi Shankaracharya ji says, I offer salutations. So when we are offering salutations, we have to offer salutations to such a divine being, by knowing whom the birth, death, harmful world of change disappear. So when we keep on offering salutations, one day by the grace of the very divinity, we will come to know what has to be known. Further, it is said that the entire world of duality is an effect, is of the form of effect. Hence it is called as false, unreal and illusory. And this is like this because of the ignorance of the real. That real is the Supreme Self. So in order to make this understanding little more clear, the statement from Chandogya Upanishad is taken here. Yatha somyekyena murutpindena sarvam mrunmayam vijñātam syāt vācāram banam vikaro namadheyam mrutyikityeva satyam mrutyikityeva satyam. The Chandogya Upanishad says, out of the lump of the earth, clay or lump of the earth, various items that are made up of earth are created. A pot is there, a vessel is there, a jar is there, a plate is there. All are made up of this lump of earth. So, it is said here, knowing this lump of earth, all things that are made up of earth become known. Where is the need for knowing each particular thing? What is this? What is that? What is the nature of this? What is the nature of that? What is the value of this? What is the value of that? This is made up of what? That is made up of what? What is the market rating of this? What is the public rating of this? Instead of knowing all that, knowing that with which the things are made up of gives the knowledge of everything. So it is said here, all this transformation, actually it is only lump of earth, and that is transformed into various items. So when somebody says a pot is there, and somebody says a jar is there, a flower vase is there, a plate is there, a spoon is there, all are made up of that lump of earth only. Is there actual difference? We say yes, there is difference. Each shape is different and we have given a different name to it. Extrinsically, it looks as if one is different from the other. Utility of one is different from the other. Value of one is different from the other. But intrinsically, they are all made up of lump of earth. And actually, when we go much more deeper into this, according to Chandogya Upanishad, all this transformation actually is only having one thing as its basis, that is speech. Unless you speak and say, this is plate, this is glass, this is spoon, this is jar, this is pot. Is there any other way to distinguish it? Unless you speak, unless you say. So the transformation has the speech alone as its basis. And that speech is the name only. Only the name is different. As such, the earth is the reality in all these things. The earth is the reality in all these things. It is only a name dependent merely on speech. That is the difference. It is only a name dependent on speech, our speech. That is what is the difference. Actually, when we see, there is no real substance called as transformation in reality. Earth alone exists. Earth as pot exists. Earth as plate exists. Earth as flower vase exists. Earth alone exists. The real existence is earth only. The rest all is only a transformation based on speech, which is only a name. Which is not a real transformation. It is only a name. You are only speaking. You are only saying. You are only mentioning. The reality is the lump of earth is there everywhere, in every single object. That alone is there. The one who sees that lump of earth is not at all affected by various names, forms, shapes, because he knows the truth of it. The truth is, the reality is only the lump of earth. The rest all is nowhere near the reality. It is only mere speech. Only a name, that's all. That is what is the difference. If we understand this, the same existence, as we have seen long ago in Panchikaranam, that from that Nirguna Parabrahma Tattva, Saguna Tattva arises. From Saguna, Avyakta. From Avyakta, Mahat. Mahato Ahankara. Ahankarat Panchatanmatran. Panchatanmatrebhya Panchamahabhutan. Panchamahabhutebhyo Akhilam Jagat. The whole Jagat at one level is nothing but 5 elements. At another subtler level, nothing but 5 subtle elements. At another subtler level, nothing but Ahankara. Still more subtler, Mahat. Much more subtler, Avyakta. Still more deeper, it is only Saguna Brahma. Same Saguna Brahma has become this world. So the one who sees that reality sees only Saguna Brahma. Much more deeper, only Nirguna Nirakara Parabrahma exists. So the one who sees that reality of existence sees only that, doesn't recognize any other transformations, any other changes, even though they might be there at the worldly level, apparent level. They may appear to be so, but he sees only that. Adi Shankaracharya ji is taking us to that level of seeing the existence as it is. We are not able to see that is only because of ignorance of the real nature. So the one who gains the knowledge of the real nature will go beyond all the suffering and sorrow and misery in the world of duality. There will be no shoka, no moha, no bhaya, no dukkha, no marana, no bandhana. One will go beyond. To such a Purushottama, we are offering our salutations. The eye is made to focus on material cause of the things along with the intellectual understanding. Material cause is the same, but objects are different. Gold might be same, but ornaments are different. Mud is the same, but items are different. So the intrinsic value is very important here. As long as we see the intrinsic value, everything is of equal value. Nothing more needs to be known. Nothing more needs to be proved in this world. No more becoming. Merely remain with the being as the being. Then there is the greatest joy that is ever possible. No more misery. All becoming is a process of avoiding misery, sorrow, and then gaining happiness and joy. There is no need to become anything. There is utmost contentment. There is highest satisfaction because you are with the being. You see only the being, you remain with the being as the being. A tourist came out of his car in New Delhi, in the Connaught Place in the New Delhi. So many shops are there, a big marketplace. Lot of activity goes on in the Connaught Place. So he got out of his car and then he looked around. Then he saw one gentleman there. And then he asked the gentleman, "Sir, people say that things vanish in no time in New Delhi. So, you seem to be a very decent gentleman standing here. So please look at my car for just a few minutes. I will just go into the shop, buy my things and come back. Just few minutes only. I am not going to go for shopping. Just buy things and come back. Just look at my car. Please observe my car for a few minutes." And that man said, "Do you know who am I? Whom you are talking to?" So I said, "Sir, I don't know who you are. Please let me know. Kindly excuse me if I have done any mistake. Please let me know who you are." He said, "I am MP. I am a member of parliament." And you are asking me, being a member of parliament, to observe your car? And this man said, "Sir, in spite of you being a member of parliament and in spite of so many scams at the center, I still trust you, sir. Please observe my car." Now that man says something and this man understands something else, which he can't deny also now. In spite of all those things, I still trust you. The real trust can happen only when we see the intrinsic worth of the things. The other superficial trust will go, it will get rust, it will disappear. That is why people will have jolts, shocks. I trusted and then you did like this. What you trusted? The ego? The incomplete personality? The changing individuality? It will definitely change. It will definitely become different. If you had trusted the divinity in the personality, then it doesn't matter whatever might be the changes, because you know the divine is always the same. That is why this vision is being given to us to see the intrinsic worth of the things. One person went to a political party office and asked the in charge there, please give me some job. I heard that there are elections around. Please give me some job. What experience you have? Asked that in charge. He said, I was fixing sails on boats for 10 years. So what can you do? He asked. If you are fixing sails on boats. You don't know? That is all connected with rigging. I can do rigging. It may have different meanings, but there also rigging is there when you have to connect sails to the boats. Extrinsic value, grabbing more than what one deserves by unethical means. That is there because only the intrinsic worth is not seen. Now we move on to the third sloka of invocation. Yasyopadesha didhitya chidatmanah prakashate Namah Sadgurave Tasmai Swavidyadvanta Bhanave Swavidyadvanta Bhanave. Here, Sri Adi Shankaracharya Ji is offering salutations to Sadguru, considering Sadguru as Surya Bhagavan. Of course, with a Vedantic viewpoint and understanding. Adi Shankaracharya Ji says here, that Sadguru, who is of the form of sun, by whose real teaching, those teachings are like the rays of the sun, the rays of consciousness. And what will these rays of consciousness do? They remove the darkness of ignorance. Covering what? Covering our real nature of true knowledge. Our real nature of true knowledge is covered by darkness of ignorance. The darkness of ignorance can be removed by the rays of consciousness. And the rays of consciousness are with the sun, meaning the Sadguru, who is pure consciousness. The teachings that come out of this pure consciousness are like the rays of the sun that remove the darkness. The rays of consciousness that remove the ignorance. There the rays of the sun, which are full of light, remove the darkness. Here the rays of the consciousness, which are full of knowledge, remove the ignorance. And once that ignorance is removed, and then the real nature of true knowledge is illumined, meaning it is ever self-luminous, it appears to be fully luminous. So, our true nature of ever knowledgeable, auspicious, firm, permanent, fullness and completeness is realized. What is our nature? Our nature of ever knowledgeable, auspicious, firm, permanent, fullness and completeness. What type of fullness and completeness? Permanent fullness and completeness. That permanency also is not like permanent job, which again becomes impermanent after some time. Not like permanent settlement. Finally you have to unsettle and go. All this permanency is relative permanency, which is temporary, but we call it as permanent because it is a prolonged time. So this is not that type of permanency. Permanent fullness and completeness, but firm permanent fullness and completeness. Firm, but also auspicious. Everything that is firm is not auspicious. But here it is auspicious, it is only Mangalaprada. Why? Because it is connected with ever-present knowledge. That which is of highest knowledge is always auspicious. And that which is of highest knowledge and auspicious is firm. Because of that highest knowledge which is auspicious is firm, deeply rooted in that self-knowledge, in that state of consciousness. And that alone is permanent. And that is fullness, and that is completeness. That is our nature. Our nature is fullness and completeness, which is firm and permanent, which is auspicious, which is full of knowledge, ever-present knowledge. So who will give us this? That Sadguru, who is in the form of the Sun of consciousness. So to such a Sadguru, Adi Shankara says, I am offering my salutations. So we need to offer salutation to such a Sadguru. The husband looked worried and tensed and disturbed and agitated. The wife noticed it and said, please understand, we are married, we are together living this life, meaning we are not separate, meaning we are one. We are not different, we are one. Meaning, your worry is my worry. Your tension is my tension. Your problem is my problem. Your sorrow is my sorrow. Please understand. It is not only yours, it is mine too. Consider it as mine and now share it with me. Very broad-minded and very open-minded. Then the husband felt very happy to know this. And then he said, my ex-girlfriend called me. She is in Ludhiana, Punjab. And she said that she is pregnant with our child. He didn't say my child, her child, he said our child. Because your problem is my problem, your suffering is my suffering. Now afterwards what happened, nobody knows. It's a different story. Superficially, we say other things are mine only as long as it is pleasant, as long as it is agreeable, as long as it is acceptable, as long as it is according to our desire, our like. If it is not, then we can't say it is mine, it is ours. Immediately that difference and disparity arises, that division arises. But much more deeper than that likes and dislikes, deeper than this personality, if you go much deeper, then we come to understand the presence of our true nature. Husband and wife were quarreling with each other. Always there was a difference of opinion. Wife says one thing, husband says something else. Husband says something, always. And they are fighting. They are not letting it go, they are always fighting. And the whole day ends up in fighting. And next day some other difference of opinion, the whole day ends up in fighting. Any visitor coming to their house also, they will only watch them fighting always. One way it is good, they will not stay. But they will always end up in fighting. Children also are fed up, always fighting. So, somebody suggested to them, why don't you approach a marriage counselor? So they went and approached. And he started counseling. Then he gave one suggestion. Simple suggestion. Here afterwards, all important decisions in detail the wife will take. All most important decisions husband will take. All important decisions in detail wife will take. Wife will make those decisions. Most important decisions husband will make. He told both of them. Then the wife asked, what do you mean by most important decisions? He said, Indo-Pak border problem, Indo-China border problem, Afghanistan problem, Africa problem. Wife immediately agreed. She said, yes, I agree. Let him take all most important decisions. Rest all I will take. The husband has no other choice, he agreed. Then thereafterward there was no problem only. No difference of opinion. Because who bothers about all those most important problems? No way it is connected with running the house, taking care of family and all that. So no, let husband take whatever. That which binds makes life easier and relationship more peaceful. In our normal experience, that which binds is either understanding or love. We see something more than the ordinary. But here, the most cohesive bonding thing is the intrinsic value of everything. That is to be seen. That is what is being shown here. So, Adi Shankaracharya says he is offering salutation to such a Sadguru who is like the sun of consciousness, whose rays will remove the darkness of ignorance and make us realize our very true nature. So, Sadguru is the one who does not command superiority. If somebody says, I am a guru and says, I am superior than you, what guru? Already you are seeing somebody is inferior, somebody is superior, and you are claiming to be superior. Why this claim? Why tell people to call me as superior? The superiority complex, wherever it is, it creates a problem. I think I am most sacred and rest all are useless fellows. Well, what will be the relationship? The dealing will be like that only. Criticizing people, insulting people, belittling people. You are fit for nothing, good for nothing, only this much. What is the yoni? Look at me. Go on. Sadguru is not like that. So Sadguru is the one who does not command superiority. Second thing, who is not unduly proud of his knowledge. पता है हमको क्या क्या मालूम है? Do you know what all I know? Finished. He is not unduly proud of his knowledge. Third point, who is not interested in worldly acquisitions. You give me that money, you give me that land, you get me that property, you give me this gift. You are already interested in worldly acquisitions. Kya Sadguru? So Sadguru is the one who is not interested in worldly acquisitions. Fourth one, who is in the body but not attached to the body. Sadguru is in the body, then only we can talk, when only we can interact. If we are bodiless, then we will run away. So in the body but not attached to the body. Then fifth point, Sadguru is the one who can develop the same level of dispassion in the disciple by his living and conduct and interaction. Living, conduct and interaction, who can develop the same level of dispassion. Teaching is set aside, teaching baad mein. Living the conduct and interaction. Develop the same level of dispassion in the disciple. That one is a Sadguru. Then, sixth one, who can consider all men and women as equal. Not different, not higher and lower. And then it is said, Sadguru is the one who leads the disciple who surrenders. And there is no surrender, nothing can be done. But leads the disciple who surrenders from bondage to liberation. And Sadguru is the one who cuts asunder the knots of ignorance, the granthis of ajnana, with his teachings and blessings. Here come teachings to cut asunder the knots of ignorance, teachings and blessings. But to develop that dispassion, teaching is not told there. Living conduct and interaction. That is how dispassion is developed. But the ignorance, knots of ignorance are cut asunder with the teachings, and not only teachings, with the blessings. Not only teaching, but his level of consciousness is such that the blessings also flow. And Sadguru is the one by whose blessings the delusion of karma and akarma vanishes. And steady wisdom dawns in the individual, and one is uplifted to the highest level of knowledge. So to such a Sadguru, Adi Shankaracharya says, he offers salutations. Namasad-gurave tasmai swa avidya dhvanta bhanave. That avidya that is there, that is removed. That Sadguru is the sun by whose light the darkness of avidya is removed. Thereafterwards, after that invocation, Adi Shankaracharya ji writes introduction to Hastamalakiyam. Because we have already seen the interaction between Adi Shankaracharya and Hastamalaka, what level they are, what happened, question and answer. So then, he says in his introduction, Atha Bhashya Arambha Iha hi sarvasya jantoho sukham me bhuyat dukkham me ma bhuyat iti swarasata eva sukhopaditsa dukkha jihase bhavatah. Adi Shankaracharya ji says, Iha hi sarvasya jantoho sukham me bhuyat dukkham me ma bhuyat iti. It is a well established fact that all beings in this world have a natural feeling that happiness alone should happen to me, misery should not happen to me. Everyone has this feeling, a natural feeling. Happiness alone should happen to me, sorrow or misery should not happen to me. And such a feeling happens naturally, without any instigation or inspiration or instruction from other. Without any instigation or instruction from the other. Nobody need to instruct us, nobody need to instigate us. It is a natural feeling in everybody. Sukham me bhuyat, dukkham me ma bhuyat. And due to this feeling, it is a natural feeling, swarasata eva. So, what happens due to this feeling? The desire that I want to gain happiness and I want to get rid of misery arises in the individual. Sukhopaditsa dukkha jihase bhavataha. Because of that natural feeling, this desire arises. I want to gain happiness. I want to get rid of sorrow or misery. Everybody, this is the common thing. There is no need to ask what you want to do. It is known. What everybody wants to do, I want to gain happiness. I want to get rid of misery. Everybody is trying that. No need to ask. That is why great masters, they don't ask, how are you doing? What are you doing? Because same story, happiness, misery. Quota is different. Quantity is different. Experience is different. Intensity is different. That is all same story, na? You ask anybody, what a problem, yeah. That time, that person was very nice. This fellow, that experience was very good. This experience, what? Say, happiness, misery. Same story. Everybody has the same story. But still, it's different. Each person's experiences are different. But the basic thing is same. I want to gain happiness. I could not gain in this. I could not gain in that. I gained in this. I gained in that. I want to get rid of misery, but I could not get rid of misery here. But I got rid of misery there. Everybody same story. Is there anything different? Same. Now what is there to write? If this is the same story, what is there to write? My biography, my autobiography, this background? What? Same thing, na? Simple one statement you can write. I want to gain happiness and I want to get rid of misery. This is my story. My friends. But each story has so many characters, so many people to play those roles, and so many varieties, permutations, combinations are different. So, but this is very clear. This is how a Mahatma sees. So there is a natural feeling in everybody that happiness alone should happen to me, misery should not happen to me. Because of that, this desire arises, that I want to gain happiness and then I want to get rid of misery. This desire arises in the individual. उसके बाद में क्या होता? He says, तत्रयः कश्चित् पुण्यातिशयशाली अवश्यं भावे दुःखाविना भूतत्वात् अनित्यत्वाच्च विषयजं सुखं दुःखमेवेति ज्ञात्वा यत्नेन स साधनात् संसाराच्च त्यक्तासक्तिः अत्यन्तं विरज्यते विरक्तश्च संसारहानौ यतते विरज्यते विरक्तश्च संसारहानौ यतते. So he says, among such people, which people who are thinking that I want to gain happiness and I want to get rid of misery, among such people, there will be one individual, rare individual, who can be called as Mahan Atma, because different from the others, more nobler than the other, more pious than the other, more purer than the other, more sacred than the other. That is why Mahan Atma, he can be called, or rare individual, who has accumulated what? Lot of wealth of punya. Punya Atishayashali. Lot of wealth of punya this person has accumulated. Not worldly wealth, wealth of punya, merit. How? Through one's own experience and also through contemplation upon the words of Guru and the Shastra, meaning scripture. The words of the teacher who is the Guru and the Shastra, that is the scripture. Contemplation upon the words of the scripture and the Guru and one's own experience. He has gained lot of merit. And because of that, he also understands that there is one more understanding he got. That happiness born out of contact with sense objects. Happiness born out of contact with sense objects is bound by misery. That bound by misery. Now it may not surface, but it will. Actually it is bound by misery. But it will surface. Wait for some time, it will surface. Once the face becomes less interesting, then misery surfaces with the same face. So, he understands that any happiness born out of the contact with sense objects is bound by misery. So he also understands Anityatvacha, it is impermanent, it is temporary. It is impermanent and temporary because tomorrow it will become misery. Tomorrow there will be more suffering. With the same object, same person, same situation. Later on. So that is why he understands that. So because it is impermanent, because it is temporary, because it is bound by misery, he sees it as a form of misery only. And then once he understands that it is a form of misery, then what he does? Vishayajam sukham dukkhameveti gnatva. He has understood now, it is a form of misery. Yatnena sa sadhanat samsaracha tyakta shaktihi. He put forth the efforts. He drops a craving for the means to attain sense pleasures and gets detached from them. Atyantam virajyate viraktascha samsarahanau yatate. Such a detached individual attempts to get rid of the bondage of samsara. Otherwise, generally everybody is following only two things. I want to gain happiness, I want to get rid of misery. Nobody is bothered about little more higher thing. Only a rare individual who has gained lot of wealth of punya through one's own experience and through the words of Guru and then the Shastra, such a person understands the reality of life. That is why we need satsanga. That is why we need Shastra. That is why we need Guru Vachana. That is why all this is there. So that we understand that this is impermanent, that it is temporary. Understanding is different. When we are getting shocks, then thinking that it is temporary is different. Very soon we will forget about that. Then we will think everything is permanent. So, there is this person who is attempting to get out of this bondage of samsara. Then what happens further? Next he says, samsarasya cha atmaswarupa aparijnana krutatvat atmajnanat nivrittiriti tam pratyatmajnanam acharya upadishati. Such a person of continuous effort due to immense punya gains. What person? Such a person of continuous effort. Continuous effort of what? Getting out of the bondage of samsara. That is continuous effort here. Not gaining happiness and getting rid of misery. Continuous effort of, that is anyway it is there for common person. Gaining happiness, getting rid of misery. Because of the feeling that I want to gain happiness and I don't want to gain misery. But here, what is this continuous effort? A detached person attempts to get rid of the bondage of samsara continuously. Such a person of continuous effort, due to immense punya, what happens to the person? Gains the presence of Sadguru. Sadguru we have already seen in the third sloka of invocation and then the explanation what is a Sadguru. So gains the presence of Sadguru. And that Sadguru is the person who understands that samsara arises only due to the lack of the knowledge of one's own self. The bondage of samsara arises only due to lack of knowledge of one's own self. So Sadguru understands that this samsara is unreal and such a samsara can be eradicated only due to the attainment of knowledge of the self. The Sadguru has to understand first. But the Sadguru only has no understanding. Simply tag that I am Guru and Satguru. That is why Sadguru in English we see SADGURU. You can say Sadguru or Sadguru. Both ways. That is why SAT is Satguru. So, he has to understand first that this samsara is unreal and this knowledge of the self can remove this unreal samsara along with its all the misery and then bondage and all. So, knowing this truth, thinking this way, not merely knowing once upon a time I knew it, now I forgot, but still I am Sadguru, not like that. Knowing this truth and thinking this way, and this Sadguru, what he does, in order to make such a true knowledge of the self happen to the individual, starts teaching about it. The Sadguru to start teaching, that intention has to be clear, so that the disciple can get out of that bondage of the samsara and suffering. So, in order to make this knowledge happen to the individual, Acharya Upadishati, starts teaching. This is how Adi Shankaracharya introduces the Hastamalakiyam. And then he enters into the actual slokas. One boss was talking to his would-be employee, because the interview is done, everything is done, so the boss is talking to the would-be employee. See, as of now, I will give you 100 rupees per hour starting from today. 1 hour you work, 100 rupees you will have. 8 hours, 800 rupees per day. 24,000 per month. Whatever it is. If you work 12 hours, more money. So 100 rupees per hour I will give right now. But after 6 months, I will give you 300 rupees per hour. 6 months I have to see, no, whether you will stay or go and whatever. He doesn't say all that, but that is what is 6 months. So, after 6 months I will give you 300 rupees per hour. Now tell me when you will join. And this man said, after 6 months. He thinks directly joining after 6 months he will get 300 rupees per hour. Why will he get? Only when you join for 100 rupees per hour, after 6 months if you sustain yourself and my organization also, sustain and everybody else around you also, then 300 rupees. This will why unnecessarily join? No, direct 6 months के बाद में join हो जाएंगे. 300 rupees. We can imagine like that, but it is impractical, because we live in a world where practicality matters. Husband and wife had bitter quarrel. Every now and then they had quarrel. So, both of them were fed up with each other. So the wife started praying to God. She offered prayer like this: Oh God, please God, please, what is happening with us? Please see. All the while, I think husband is wrong. Husband thinks I am wrong. But finally, both of us concluded both of us are wrong. But that is good, no? At least the conclusion is good. But I am wrong. So, now here afterwards, it's become difficult for me to bear this. So, the prayer is like this: if my husband is wrong, let him die. If my husband is wrong, let him die. If I am wrong, let me become a widow. In both the cases, he only gaya. It is very difficult for the ego to accept the mistake and afterwards undergo the consequence of that mistake. It's not easy, because ego is only connected with the extrinsic values of things, not intrinsic values. So we need to go deeper into it in order to understand the presence of the existence. Once we understand the presence of existence in everything, outer layers of misery, outer layers of disparities and differences which cause so much of peacelessness and unrest, they will not remain there, attacking us all the while. Because we go deep into that individual and into that relationship and understand the existence of it. The existence of it, everything is equal, everything is complete, everything is already fulfilled, nothing more needs to be achieved or attained, everything is complete in itself, everything is total. That is why from the vision of a Mahatma, he is complete, because he sees only that completeness. The same place, in the same things where we see incompleteness and disparity and conflict and confusion, he sees completeness and totality. He perceives that, he sees that, he experiences that. We don't see that. All because we don't see the intrinsic value of the things. Adi Shankaracharya ji in Mahavakya Darpanam, in sloka number 24 in Mahavakya Darpanam, he says, Samsara bandho yamabodha mulaha karma pravruddho bahu dukkha hetuhu na karma kotyasya nivrittirishyate tatvavabodhena vina mumukshoho samsara bandhoyam abodha mulaha कर्म प्रवृद्धो बहु दुःख हेतुः न कर्म कोट्यास्य निवृत्तिरिष्यते तत्त्वावबोधेन विना मुमुक्षोः तत्त्वावबोधेन विना मुमुक्षोः विना मुमुक्षोः. Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji says, even though jivas, all the jivas, originally, meaning in truth, meaning in reality, are of the form of pure consciousness. Originally they are of the form of pure consciousness, all the jivas. Bondage of samsara happened, samsara bandhoyam abodha mulaha, abodha mulaha. There is no bodha, there is no knowledge, there is ignorance. So samsara bandhana, bondage of samsara happened due to ajnana. And then what they did, after that they didn't keep quiet there. Karma pravruddho bahu dukkha hetuhu. They went on performing actions and actions and actions and actions. Because I want to become this, I want to become that, I want to get rid of this, I want to gain that. So actions and actions and actions. So he says, due to the performance of one's own actions, one's own karmas, this bondage grows and becomes more firm. What happened to this already existing bondage because of ignorance? It started growing. It started becoming more firm. And then it becomes cause for many more sorrows and miseries. As if they are not enough already. More sorrows, more miseries. Why? More bondage. Bondage becomes more, grows more, and becomes more firm. Already bondage is there, that grows more and becomes firm, leading to more miseries, more sorrows. Why? All because of performance of so many actions. Na karma kotyasya nivrittirishyate tatvavabodhena vina mumukshoho. You continue to perform crores and crores of actions. No end for that action. Go on performing. Justifying each time, I have to do this, I have to do that, this is my responsibility. I have to go on performing. Crores of actions you perform. Misery will not end. Sorrows will never end. They will become more. Why? Bondage becomes more. Grows and becomes more firm. More sorrow, more misery. Add more sorrows, add more miseries. By increasing actions to crores and crores of action. Increase. So Adi Shankaracharya ji says there is only one way you get out of misery, sorrow, bondage of samsara. What is the way? Tattvavabodhena vina mumukshoho. Such a bondage of samsara, along with its sorrows and miseries, can be removed only by tattvavabodhena. Tattva avabodhena. Only by the knowledge of the true self and not by performing crores and crores of actions. Not by performing actions, only by the knowledge of the self. The knowledge of the self, misery is gone. Even in the worldly level, better knowledge, problems are solved. Like there were 3 shops side by side, juxtapositioned one after the another. 3 shops were there. Same items, same articles. 3 shops. Shop names were different, but same things they sell. 3 shops side by side. One shop, shop A, shop B, shop C. Shop A, that fellow displayed a banner. Year-end clearance sale. Year-end clearance sale. Meaning what? Everything is available at a cheaper rate. So people started going there. Shop A. Then, after a while, shop C displayed another banner. Closing out sale. More cheaper. People started growing there. But the shop B, nobody is coming. Same items, same articles. Shop A, so many people are going. Year-end clearance sale, banner displayed. Shop C, closing out sale. People are going. Then shop B fellow did not know what to do. He went and consulted a wise person. अभी क्या करना? उधर वो बैनर है, इधर ये बैनर है, सेम आइटम है, वहां लोग बहुत जा रही है, इधर कोई नहीं आ रहा. Nobody is coming. What to do? Then he gave some suggestion. Afterwards, all people came only to his shop. What was the suggestion? He displayed a banner, main entrance. Year-end clearance sale, closing out sale, boat shop. He said main entrance. He displayed a banner, main entrance. So everybody thought, udhar jana, idhar se jana. So they went into it, main entrance. Better knowledge, problem solved in the worldly level also. The worldly problem will not be solved by worldly knowledge because it is bound by ignorance. If we have to get out of it, go out of it, we need higher knowledge, supreme knowledge. Then only it can be solved. Otherwise there will be confusion. We make a transaction, but it will be confusion. One person came back to the librarian and threw the book and said, "Take your book. What book is this? Boring book. No story at all. Too many characters, no story. Boring book. Take this book." And the librarian looked at it. It is a telephone directory. What can you say? That fellow took telephone directory and says, too many characters. Characters. No story, boring. The transaction is like that. Because ignorance-based transactions are like that. Transaction doesn't mean you are very knowledgeable. Ignorance-based transactions, the result will be sorrow only. That is why we have to uplift ourselves. That is why this knowledge is necessary. This jnanam, which takes us beyond the bondage of samsara and misery and sorrows and all its limitations. We get into that level where we will remain ever knowledgeable about the ever blissful nature, and we will thereafterwards be ever present in a changeless form. Tam vande nitya vijnanam anandamajamayam. And we will also have this concluding prayer like slokas. These are connected with the last sloka, not in the sloka, but in the explanation that will be given to that sloka later on when we come to that 12th sloka. Abhi ek ko bhi nahi aaye. This is going on. Tomorrow we will enter into first sloka. So, the concluding prayer, very meaningful prayer. Vasudeva sarvamidam. Vasudeva sarvamidam. Sarvam Vishnumayam Jagat. सर्वं विष्णुमयं जगत् ब्रह्ममात्रमिदं सर्वम् ब्रह्ममात्रमिदं सर्वम् सर्वं ब्रह्मैव सकलं जगत् सर्वं ब्रह्मैव सकलं जगत् भूतानि विष्णुरित्याद्या भूतानि विष्णुरित्याद्या शतकोऽथसहस्रशः शतकोऽथसहस्रशः विश्वस्य ब्रह्मा भिन्नत्वे विश्वस्य ब्रह्मा भिन्नत्वे जयन्ति श्रुतयोऽपि च जयन्ति श्रुतयोऽपि च सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतंगमय। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।